Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a really cool film score by none other than Paul Hindemith. It's called Struggle with the Mountain, or let's see, Im Kampf mit dem Berge. There you go, auf Deutsch. This recording, it's been recorded a couple times. This is the Koch recording. Dennis Russell Davies did it, and there's a selection by Werner Andreas Albert, I believe, on CPO. So it's not completely unknown. It might as well be, though. It's a 57-minute chunk of continuous music. And one of the interesting things about silent film scores, which is what this is that the music has to matter much more than in talkies, because the music is carrying the action along. There is no sound other than the music. And so it gives the composer a chance to write extended pieces in closed forms, for example, as Hindemith was wont to do. He's very similar in that respect to Shostakovich. When Shostakovich did, The New Babylon, and, his silent movie scores, they wrote real chunky pieces of music that were intended to be heard. Not necessarily independently, but that work independently quite well, instead of just setting mood and then evaporating somewhere. You know what I mean? So what we have here is 57 minutes of music. The movie is, let's see, it was by Arnold Frank, and it was made in 1921, and it's about, Im Kampf mit dem Berge. It's the struggle with the mountain. It's about climbing a mountain in the snow. Most likely. I think there's snow here. Something about at the summit, and the descent, and camp, and storm. And let's see, morning, and the ascent. And let's see, there are a couple of entr'actes here. There's a Passacaglia. It's a Swiss mountain. So yeah, of course there's snow. Anyway, that's what it's about. It's like the Alpine Symphony goes Neue Sachlichkeit. Is that helpful? No. Neue Sachlichkeit means new objectivity. It was Hindemith's clear-eyed neoclassical style. Now, the ensemble here is actually rather interesting. Let's see what he wrote it for, because that's part of the fun. It was written for, let's see, a violin obbligato, cello, bass, flute, oboe, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, piano, harmonium. You got to have harmonium in these things. Timpani, two percussionists, and the conductor conducts. So it's really almost like a study for Hindemith's Kammermusik pieces, when you think about it. I mean, he wrote this. He was born in 1895, right? So he's 95, 50. He was in his late 20s when he wrote this. It's an early work of his, but still full of invention and fantasy. And say what you will about these absolute composers who talk about their absolutitude. The fact of the matter is, if you have a good picture to help, it often juices up the inspiration. It really does. So this particular performance is with an ensemble conducted by Helmut Imig, and this is still available. At least I've seen it around. I don't know who owns Koch now, Koch Schwann, or maybe these are just leftover pressings, but you should be able to source this or get it as a streaming thing, or get the Dennis Russell Davies recording. And, Hindemith was an important composer, a major composer. He didn't spend a lot of time in film music. I mean, he sort of turned up his nose at music that was used for popular entertainment, which is kind of interesting, because he coined the idea of Gebrauchmusik, utility music that should have a utilitarian purpose as part of your daily life. But of course, it should be good music. It should be culturally superior music. It should be, I mean, my master's thesis was on, my first master's thesis, there were two of them, was on Paul Hindemith and his affair with Furtwängler. I don't mean he had an affair with Furtwängler, the Hindemith-Furtwängler affair over the premiere of Mathis der Maler and what happened with the Nazis. And so I had to do some investigation into Hindemith's own musical philosophy and what he thought about it. And there wasn't a lot of room in that philosophy for silent film music. Let's put it that way. But that doesn't mean he didn't do a bang-up job. He was a tremendously gifted, versatile musician who could write music as freely as breathing. Remember, he wrote the Trauermusik for viola and strings, like while on the train in 20 minutes or something. I mean, he was that kind of a composer. And so I think this is a wonderful score, and it's a real rarity. If you collect film music, and if you like silent film music, you really should hear this. So that's Hindemith in Kampf mit, I have to get my case endings right. Im Kampf mit dem Berge. Yeah, because mit takes the dative case. All right, I remember that much of my German. Anyway, keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.